first, to give a very simple definition of power creep, it's when a new character, ability, or weapon that is introduced to a game performs the same niche role that an old ability, character, or weapon does, but just straight up better. A great example of this is Neuvillette in Genshin Impact power creeping Ayato. Both of them are Hydro DPS characters, except Neuvillette has a much bigger AoE, much better multipliers, much more range, is a lot easier to build, and probably also has much bigger biceps. But it's not just Neuvillette alone who clearly power crept the previous Hydro DPS of choice. If you look at all the Fontaine characters who were released in the 4.x series of Genshin patches, then we can see that for other elements this is pretty much the same. Risley overtakes Ayaka for Cryo, Navia overtakes Ito for Geo, Shanyun can be considered a direct upgrade to Jean for Anemo healing, and then there's also Furina, who is arguably the best character in the game right now. You get the idea. Different games handle power creep very differently though. Thanks to how Genshin Impact's combat system works, while your stats and multipliers are no doubt extremely important and there is a minimum DPS threshold you need to meet, you can still technically overcome any challenge the game has to offer even with less powerful units. As long as you invest enough into them, utilize the elemental reaction system well, and come up with good rotations for your team comps. Now Honkai Star Rail is a different kind of beast though. Because it is a turn-based RPG, it is really quite difficult to have any form of skill expression in the form of perfecting rotations. And as such, overcoming challenges the game throws at you really boils down to just have the right units bro, and bigger number better. Sure, there are things you can do such as speed tuning your characters in certain team comps, but that's still going to boil down to preparation and not actual player skill during combat. Being attached to any one character in this game is a recipe for disaster. Or at least it used to be with older units like Blade for example, but the way newer units are designed, it seems to be that they're future-proofing them quite a bit. One such mechanic is the self-weakness implant that both Boothill and Firefly have in their kits, or the universal toughness damage that Acheron gets on her ultimate. This means that you don't have to worry about being on element, and as long as you hyper invest in these characters, you should be good to go. At least, as long as they don't add completely break immune enemies, but that would be a pretty silly design decision in my opinion, because the whole idea behind HSR's combat system is that you gain an advantage over your enemy by weakness breaking them. As for how power creep will affect Wuthering Waves, we are yet to see, but thanks to how the combat system and character kits are designed, I don't see any character being straight up unusable or unable to clear future content pretty much ever. Power creep will more than likely come in the form of just making those clears a lot easier, similar to how it works in Genshin. If PGR is anything to go by, some things they will probably play around with for future character kits are going to be interruption resistance, damage reduction paired with hyper armor, and straight up invincibility during certain long flashy combo animations. Kuro, please give us a Stigmata or a Crimson Weave XP, they're so fun to play. Power creep is also a subject which people are quite divided on. Those who hate power creep tend to do so because they get attached to a certain character, perhaps invest a lot into them, and if suddenly this character is no longer able to clear the content that is being added to the game, or has a very tough time doing so, while the new shiny toy is easily able to stomp it with a lot less investment, then all of a sudden, all their investment feels like it was a waste of resources and they feel cheated. These people often tend to look at devs using power creep as a lazy money grab tactic just to sell new characters. Are these feelings justified though? Let's just step outside the realm of gacha games for a minute and take a look at the stock market. For this experiment, we will take 3 hypothetical people and set the time to when the GME stock prices first mooned and then plummeted right back down, on the 5th of March in 2021. Person A invests all their money into GME stock once it starts rebounding from the dip, thinking it will probably keep going up. Person B invests into an index fund, which is just a collection of different stocks that tend to move with the market instead of relying on the performance of any one individual stock. Let's pick a well-known one for him, like the Schwab S&P 500. And person C buys only Apple stock. Now, if we fast forward to today, person A's stocks are worth less than in 2021. Not only did the stock's value fall, but due to inflation, his money is also worth less than back then. So he basically fucked himself twice over. This guy is also probably a Blade main in HSR just like me. Person B's index fund choice grew a bit over 40% these 3 or so years, which is definitely not a bad outcome. This guy probably has a bunch of E0S0 or E0S1 characters in HSR and can whip up a team for whatever content he needs to clear. Person C's Apple stocks went up by over 70%, which is better than the previous guy's index funds. This guy probably has an E2S1 Acheron and now an E0S1 Firefly in HSR. What is common with all 3 of these people though is that they made a strategic decision and then the rest was up to the market, and there is no logical reason for any of them to feel smart or stupid about the decision they made. Another thing to keep in mind is that just because person C's Apple stock performed better than person B's index fund choice, it doesn't mean that person B's index fund choice is worth any less. Powercreep works in the exact same way. Thinking that you were cheated just because a character you invested in ended up not being as strong as you thought it would be, or that a new character comes out and they're stronger than your current character, and then because of that suddenly you think your character is shit just because someone else is stronger, that is just childish and illogical thinking. Generally speaking, without any form of power creep, it would be pretty hard to incentivize new players to try new characters. If what you already have is just way stronger than the new character that's releasing, then why would you want to downgrade? Sure, novelty is definitely a factor, and a new fun design can definitely make you want to play a character even if their overall power might be lower. But there is a problem with not releasing stronger and stronger units as a game matures, which is exactly the problem Genshin Impact had for the longest time. Now just to set the scene, imagine you work as a personal trainer and you go to the gym every day. You keep telling every single one of your clients to just keep benching the bar, day after day, workout after workout. Hey, Coach Misk, aren't we gonna start adding any weight to this? It's getting pretty easy. Nah, you good bro. I don't like power creep, just keep benching the bar. This is exactly how Hoyoverse has been treating Genshin Impact's Spiral Abyss until recently. Limiting the power budget of your players means that you have to tailor the challenges that are available in the game to fit this power budget. As such, the higher the power and the agency you give to your players, the more bullshit you can throw at them. And while not for everyone, hard challenges are definitely fun to overcome. Right now, Genshin's newest Abyss cycle is considered to be one of the hardest ever. But still, if you have all the meta units, you can pretty much shitstomp it just the same as previous Abyss cycles in just a few attempts. But that is because the challenge is not designed to only be clearable by min-maxers who have all the meta units, just as how finally bench pressing more than the bar isn't a task only fit for the best athletes and powerlifters. In Wuthering Waves, you can already clear all the hardest content in the game with solo 4 stars while being 20 levels under-leveled. So once we hit the point in the game's life where we can get our characters to level 90 and have a fully built team, difficulty 6 holograms will be very easy to clear, and as such, to keep players adequately challenged so they don't get bored, the devs will need to add harder content, whether that is a new difficulty 7 or just even harder hologram boss fights in the future. That's up to Kuro Games to decide. That about wraps up my thoughts on power creep and whether it is more of a good or a bad in the grand scheme of things. Let me know what you guys think about the subject down in the comments below. Do you agree or disagree with me? If you enjoyed the video, then leave a like. And if you didn't, then leave a dislike, that's also fine. And if you want to see more videos like this one, then make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm Dr. Misk. Until next time, peace!